Please welcome Angie Wayman.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Angie. I'm from the Arizona Cardinals. I've been with the team coming up on 1 year. Just completed my first season, and I think it's really important to address some of the swirling rumors that were out there yesterday. I talked to a few folks about it. I did purchase the $13 bag of milk chocolate pretzels. Just putting it out there. I think it's important that we acknowledge it. I mean, did you think I was going to talk about something? I'm not going to talk about anything else. Okay, so coming into the Cardinals, I've a little bit about me. I've been in email marketing since the year my son was born, so almost 13 years. I've been with several different companies and different facilities. B2B, B2C. I worked for an amusement park doing email marketing. I've done a little bit of everything. Always on my vision board to get to the NFL since I was in college. Grew up a Bengals fan. I'm from Cincinnati, but now the Cardinals are my favorite team. So coming into this season, and really I started in July. Training camp starts in July. I had to hit the ground running, right? I had never been an email marketer for the Cardinals, and the consumer insights team created a role that was going to be dedicated to how we communicate with our customers. Our customers are our fans. We love talking to our fans, but ultimately we really want our fans to become season ticket members. And so our purpose statement really for the Cardinals organization is to have the most engaged and loyal fan base by producing compelling content, memorable experiences, and unifying events. Right? So we want our season ticket members to experience that. We want to take our single game purchasers to be a season ticket member, and our fans. So I'll talk a little bit about how we look at all of those different audiences, how we identify those people So what are we talking about here? So we use hyper-segmentation routines. We really tailor different messages to different fans where they're at in their fan journey. We use dynamic content. We use movable ink to do a lot of driving our personalization, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit here. And then what's up next to engage fans, whether their players are on or off the field right now, is off season, but not for us, for us marketers. This is the time when we can implement things and get things done before the season starts, because once it's here, we're off running with lots of communication. So. Hyper-segmentation, so these are 3 different ways that we really look at our different segments. We look at fan profiles, purchase history, and league data. So this little banner at the bottom of all of our emails is we want to hear from you. And this is a fan profile that we've had in place where they can select, go in, and tell us more about them. They're going to tell us their favorite active player. What industry they're in. Do they play video games? And we're going to be able to tailor messages to them. If Kyler is their favorite, and we can partner with like a movable ink to put Kyler and a happy birthday message for them. That's what we're going to do for them. A lot of the information that we collect in the fan profile as well is used for a lot of our sales teams as well. So they'll come to us and ask for specific industry, like construction is really big for our group sales, healthcare as well, government really works well for different industries for group sales. And then we take also into account purchase history. We look very specifically at what ticket they're buying, where their parking is, if they're buying any kind of merchandise, on what kind of cadence, how much they're spending. Are they a top tier merchandise spender and not a season ticket member? Why is that? Are they maybe not in our maybe they're not in Arizona and they've transferred out, and then we try to identify who those people are. We also partner really closely with the league. We are a franchise, and the league will help us with a lot of our data. They will give us anybody who is in their database that has an affinity or is in our DMA for the Arizona Cardinals, and then they give us the very specific lists, and they're able to cluster down to who our fans may be and how we can talk to them. So then we take all of that data and we give dynamic content. So we have 3 different ways that I'm going to kind of talk about today. We have different ticket push messages based on the fan that they are. Name personalization, which is a pretty easy get, especially when you're dealing with jerseys that have names on them. That's pretty easy piece to give them. They love that. And then game day info is we look at what type of ticket they have or parking they have. So this is an example of a pretty typical email that we would send. This is the draft email from last year. We had Zaven Collins. We drafted a linebacker. And our main goal is to give content and then the ask for the season tickets, right? So we're going to give them all of the cool information. Here's who we took. And now buy season tickets. You're excited now. Let's get tickets. But this was kind of the approach we always took, was always asking for the big ask. That's a large purchase, especially if you've never been a season ticket member before, or have maybe never been to a game yet. You know, you just moved to the area and we're already asking you for season tickets. So then what we did was put in, taking a look at who the customer is, and giving them a message for getting a single game ticket. Let's just get you in the door, give you the experience, and then, and if you're already a season ticket member, you don't want to see that message, either of those, because you have tickets. So we're going to give you a merchandise offer instead. And then by adopting this approach, you know, when I came in and we stopped doing just the big ask and started asking for single game tickets, we saw that SG single game approach created a increased CTR of 11% in that section. Name personalization, again, I don't think that this is anything too outside of the box, but these are very highly engaged pieces because you're really getting that feeling of being a part of our team. You know, you are a part of our team and we want to recognize that. So these really tend to do well. And what we're going to be doing next with personalization, I'll talk about a little bit, but really taking this and flipping it to be more your messages from Kyler or messages that you're giving us that data, that fan profile. Let's feed on that a little bit more. And then the click-through rates for these personalized images versus just a happy birthday have increased by 18%. So I think that's a pretty easy connection. Game day info. So these are our Know Before You Go series. You know, we want to give people all kinds of information before we know that they have a ticket, single game or season or group ticket. We know you're coming to the upcoming game. We want to give you all the information that you need in order to get to the game and have a great experience. One of the pieces that we put into the Know Before You Go email is a map to your parking. So we know where you're parking. We're going to give you specific directions on how to get there because, I mean, we all know going to any kind of game, you know, at a stadium, parking's an issue, traffic can be an issue, so we recognize that. So we want to make it as easy as possible. So we know this is where my parking is in West Preferred, so this is the best way to get there. Because you know what's going to happen is I'm going to type in State Farm Stadium in my Google Maps, and it's going to tell me how to get there, but not necessarily the best way to get there, or take into consideration road closures for the stadium. So when we also partnered with Waze with these maps so that when you click on it, it will pinpoint the lot that you have purchased parking for. You know, when you do Google Maps, like I said, it's kind of general and it'll take you to the stadium, but not where you're parking. This will direct you exactly to the pinpoint of your different parking lot. And when we installed this, we saw that the Know Before You Go engagement, the map directions are always the #1 clicked piece because that's what people need to know is where am I going? So that's going to drive a lot of the things that we're going to be doing next year. Or this upcoming season, actually, we're going to be taking a lot of that information, giving them up to date, here's where you need to go, here's what you need to know, and then drive them to a dedicated landing page for that game for all the other information, you know, what you can bring into the stadium, health and safety guidelines. So our next level for us is going to be kind of working on game day recaps. Is something we hadn't been doing in the past, so started working on those last year and how we're going to improve those. Ticket push 2.0 and live polling. Our game day recaps, this is what one would look like, and of course I chose one where we won because those are the ones I like to look at. So this is what we would have. It was very templated. We'd have the score, a push to one of our revenue drivers, Game Pass, photo of the game, and headlines and highlights. Say that 3 times fast. So what we're going to do is really take a partnership again with Movable Ink and really look at what people are interacting with. And if somebody is getting a game day recap and they're always clicking on a link for the podcast, we have great content team between our photographers, our bloggers, our podcasts, our journalists. It's just a fantastic team. We have great content to rely on. So if they are always going to the podcast and that's the piece they're most engaged with, we're going to serve up the podcast or photo essays, whatever it is that they are most interested in, we're going to serve that to them first so that they get that engagement right off the bat. And then we're also, because we were awarded the Mexico HMA, we are able to now do Spanish content for a lot of our fans. And for Ticket Push 2.0, this is going to be really breaking out how we are getting customers into the stadium, are getting our fans into the stadium. If we're looking at somebody who hasn't purchased a ticket in 3 years or has never been to a game, we just want to get them in the door for the experience. And then we're going to follow up with them after they've been to 1 or 2 games or have been to a group ticket purchase. We're going to give them the opportunity to explore. Did you see everything there was? Of course you didn't see everything that there's in the stadium. We've got experiences out on the lawn. We have a new sports book. There's a lot of different content that you can engage with in the stadium. So we're going to give them that opportunity. And then after that, we want them, if they've been to more than 2 games in a season, it's time to be a season ticket member, in my opinion. So we're going to tell them what that means to be a part of the legacy of the team. And then live polling, we just started this piece. We're really trying to drive engagement so that we can, make the big ask later in the journey. And we had this fan poll kind of drafted. We weren't really ready to go with it, but it was our first test case scenario where we were going to do engagement within the email. And we're going to really take that to the next level if people are. And I had an idea from yesterday. I don't know who presented this, but it was if you're doing live polling based off of the preference center that you have, you can get more data into that preference center, into that fan profile, and be able to target better. So I took that. That's definitely one of the takeaways for me. But these are going to be some of the things that we'll play with and have fun with, and really get more information so that we can have that best experience for our fans. So just using these 3, this is what we're working on. Again, this is my first year. I can't wait to come back to this event, and be able to say, here's what we actioned off of all of that. So so thank you.
Thanks, Angie. Any questions for Angie?
Chester Bullock, rent.com. Thank you, Angie, for coming. Glad you made it. I hope this is everything you wanted it to be. Yep. But I don't recall if we talked about this in the Slack channel or not, but I used to work for Ticketmaster about 8 years ago, and my job there was to consult with sports teams, arts organizations, et cetera, anybody with a season ticket component on how to sell more tickets through email and all that. And my feedback from a lot of them, especially in markets like Denver where the season ticket list is 8 years long and all that sort of thing, they didn't really care. So I'm excited to see your kind of a role at a big organization that has had some success like the Cardinals that isn't necessarily fighting to fill seats every week. Are you seeing this as a pervasive thing across the league and across professional sports? That side of it's fascinating to me, aside from all the email specific stuff, but I'm glad to see some growth in a business that seems to have taken their fans for granted for so long.
That's a great point. I think that part of our, like I said, our mission statement is to provide that unique experience, memorable experience, and by utilizing a lot of the content that we have and getting that in front of our fans, I think that that's going to be key to building on what is it that you're getting from, you're coming to a game, you're having the typical kind of an NFL experience, but that's not what we want you to walk away with. We want you to walk away with, you're a part of this, we're doing this together, and using that approach, and hopefully we get to that point where, yes, we are not having to worry about our season tickets are sold out. I know there are a couple teams out there that have the pleasure of that, but that presents other unique challenges. But yeah, obviously I think that that's something we're working towards. So.
Hang on.
Hi, Angie. Anthony from Iterable. I have a two-part question. One is, a lot of the examples that you showed, it looked like were like on mobile devices. Do you guys have a mobile app? And if so, how are you trying to balance what channels you're trying to interact with fans on? As I imagine when they're at the stadium, they're probably more app-prone than they are checking their email. And then the second part of my question is, during the off-season, what type of engagement and messaging are you sending to keep fans engaged?
Sure. So yes, we do have a mobile app. And right now that conversation is really happening with how making sure, I think I said it in our roundtable yesterday, I don't want to wolf people, right? We don't want to send them an SMS, text, a push app, an email, and have a banner on the website that all says the exact same thing at the same time. We really have to balance that. The web app will, it can tell when we've geocached it so that you can, when you get close to the stadium, hey, we know you're getting ready to go park, pull out your mobile parking, because everything's digital tickets now, right? So everything's on your device, so we prompt you to bring open those barcodes to be able to scan and get in quickly. So we're really having that conversation of how you layer the segments for SMS, push, web, and the second part of your, I'm sorry, it was... Off-season, yes. Off-season is, it is the off-season, it isn't. We have all of the different keystone dates that we still work towards. Last week was the draft. Next week is the schedule release. And so we try to pick those kind of keystone moments to say, we're hosting the Super Bowl this year. Hopefully we'll be in it. So we really pick out those, yes, it is, we are not in season and playing, but there are still things that are happening around the league and making sure everybody's informed that way.
Angie, since Chelsea just talked about make and model identification, I was curious about player identification and how engagement with specific players plays a role in this. Do you find that that's an interesting hook to grab people and to get them engaged with you more? I didn't see that many player-specific messaging there, and I was just curious what role that plays.
For sure. So the past year, we've been really collecting that data for Fan Profile, where they can select their favorite player or their favorite alumni. And what we're going to be doing with that, now that we've kind of got that data collection, segmenting out the top 5 to 10 players, working with them during, we do a big photo session, getting, birthday messages. Maybe Kyler can say, hey, happy birthday, so hope you have a special day kind of thing. So really now that we have that data, or then driving like their favorite alumni is going to be at the game signing in the club level. So that's really going to come to fruition in the next year when we start implementing, so exciting.
Since you're taking a bit of a slow burn approach to moving people towards that big ask of the season ticket, I'm curious what you've learned about the nature of that consumer journey, whether there's a price to be paid for jumping the gun and asking too early, if there's a particular cadence that you've seen to the overall journey so that you sort of know a time span, a number of touches before you make the bigger ask.
Yeah, I think with Keystone Dates really help us make the big ask immediately, because there will be that we have priority list. So you're on the list to select your seats first. It's very time-based, but when it goes on sale to the public, like it did last week, you can make the big ask at that point because it's a big date. Next week when schedule release comes out, you can make the ask again because everybody's you've got their ear at that point, right? When we get slow here in the next between schedule release and training camp, that's going to be the real tell of giving the content slowly and then asking, saying, okay, after probably 3 touches, we can make just a dedicated email to ask for the season ticket. And if that's not, and we're going to be looking at engagement this year just to see, okay, if that's not the ask, then maybe the single game purchases.
Angie Wayman, thank you so much.
Thank you.